Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. This country was dying. You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia. The king told me. He said, you got the hottest we have the hottest country in the world right now. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, you know, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number and I go down a little bit, a little bit, they want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I said, man, that really got up. You know how it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things, and you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%. I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever, and they were having a lot of problems. We were very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say...
Remember when Donald Trump told us we were going to get tired of winning eventually? Well, I don't know when that day is going to come. I don't know when that day is going to come with Donald Trump, because it seems like him personally, he's tired of losing. And he made that very clear when he lashed out and directly attacked a reporter who asked him about a breaking story of Wall Street executives mocking Donald Trump for how quickly he is willing to bend on his tariffs, how weak and embarrassed he has been during his presidency. And, of course, he had himself a little meltdown. We're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. And it really does mean a lot to me. Now, Donald Trump was asked this question while in the Oval Office for an event, swearing in Judge Tanine Pirro, who probably had a couple of glasses before. But before we can get into Donald Trump being asked about his tariffs, I want to start with what he had to say about Janine Pirro.
Good as anybody I've seen. She began a career in 1975 as an assistant district attorney in Westchester County, New York, where she prosecuted violent crimes. And that was a serious prosecution. And she went after real criminals, not fake criminals like we seem to do nowadays, people that shouldn't be prosecuted.
Does Donald Trump understand that he is currently the president? I know that he decides every other day whether it's Joe Biden's economy or his economy. Right now, Joe Biden's stock market or his stock market. But what do you mean? We're not going after real criminals now, but we used to. Does that mean Joe Biden went after the real criminals and now you're the president? If there are problems, it's because of you. But he clearly doesn't get that. And he'll take no accountability. And that was also clear before we get into the tariffs when he was asked about the war in Ukraine.
Do you believe the Russians are being disrespectful when they say that your criticisms of Putin are simply an emotional response? And do you still believe that Putin actually wants to end the war?
I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we're going to find out very soon. We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not. And if he is, we'll respond a little bit differently. But it'll take about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We have Mr. Witkoff is here, who's doing a phenomenal job, is dealing with them very strongly right now. They They seem to want to do something, but until the document is signed, I can't tell you. Nobody can. I can say this. That I'm very disappointed at what happened a couple of nights now, where people were killed in the middle of what you would call a negotiation. I'm very disappointed by that. Very, very disappointed.
2 weeks away. It's always 2 weeks away. 2 weeks we'll have it done. It'll be done in 2 weeks. When are the actual 2 weeks coming? Because we were promised many 2 weeks ago. It's like 9 2 weeks ago. And Donald Trump said this. We'll have to make a saying out of that or something, but that this war would be ended before you were even sworn in, and that hasn't happened. Because while you are weak, you are ineffective, and you are incompetent. That's how the world views you. And clearly Wall Street as well, Donald, who's mocking you. And Donald Trump was asked about that and then freaked out on this reporter. Just watch the whole clip of his rambling meltdown.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. This country was dying. You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia. The king told me. He said, we have the hottest country in the world right now. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number and I go down a little bit, they want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I said, man, that really got up. You know how it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things, and you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%. I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever, and they were having a lot of problems. We were very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question. Go ahead. To me, that's the nastiest question. Wait a minute. Wait. Go ahead, please.
If Donald Trump ever says, you asked a nasty question, you did a great job, and you're an incredible journalist, that should be an award. You should get a little placard. Like Donald Trump said, I asked a nasty question. Jim Acosta has got to have like 1,000 of those by now. But the fact that there is now a term when Donald Trump didn't understand when she said taco, he's like, do I get to eat? Are we having McDonald's? And he's like, what, they kicked me? He is not only furious, not only just stewing in his own anger because he is so mad about how everyone knows he is so weak, but also as he freaks out about everyone knowing how weak he is, he demonstrates how weak he is, how out of touch, how much he's lost it. The cognitive decline is so clearly there, and again it just continues to play out on the world stage. Donald Trump was asked again about Putin, and look what he had to say.
President, you said having to do with Iran. We're having very good talks with
Mr. President, you said yesterday that Putin is playing with fire. What will be the consequences for Russia if Russia continues?
Well, I'm not going to tell you exactly, but the words speak pretty loud. We're not happy about that situation. I think we're doing very well with Iran. I think we're doing very well with Gaza. But we are doing very well with Iran, and I think we're going to see some something very sensible, because there are only two outcomes. You know what the two outcomes is: a smart outcome and there's a violent outcome, and I don't think anybody wants to see the second. But I think we've made a lot of progress, and we'll see. You know, they still have to agree to the final stages of a document, but I think you could be very well surprised what happens there, and it'd be a great thing for them. It could have a great country into the future. Yeah.
The words speak really powerfully, really loudly. Well, we don't know what the words are. Donald, and you can never get through a sentence without slipping up or slurring. So the words clearly aren't too powerful because they've done nothing. You've posted a lot. You've been pretty angry and emotional, and it's not just my view of that. As we talked about in some recent reporting even, the Kremlin is now mocking Donald Trump, his best buddies in Russia, completely humiliating him. And Jen Psaki covered that right here.
A month ago, right after Trump said he struck a peace deal to end the war, Russian President Vladimir Putin launched one of the most devastating bombardments on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, since the war began. Trump responded by posting online, "Vladimir, stop." Wouldn't you know, Vladimir did not stop. And over the weekend, Russia launched an even bigger aerial assault on Kyiv. And Trump responded again by going online, writing that Putin has, quote, gone absolutely crazy. Now, Trump has been largely defending Russia, criticizing Ukraine, and cutting off necessary U.S. assistance since he took office. But now that he appears pretty impotent in giving his promise of ending the war, well, he's melting down publicly a little. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, who often chooses his words, almost always, brushed off Trump's outburst by calling it, quote, emotional, which probably got under Trump's skin. But more importantly, what's clear is that Trump doesn't end the war. He never did. And all of the siding with his friend Putin has only led to empowering him further. Joining me now is Susan Rice. She's the former U.S. ambassador and the former national security advisor to President Obama. There's so much I want to ask you about. I want to start just by asking you, I mean, you've engaged with the Russians for decades. You know who all these players are very, very well. I mentioned Peskov's statement calling Trump's response emotional. He's always thoughtful about what he says. What did you think that overall message is about?
Well, Jen, it's good to be with you. I have to say, when I heard the Peskov statement, I kind of chuckled to myself, as I imagine you might have, because the calling a person emotional or their reaction emotional is a favorite put down. I've certainly heard them use it many times in the past. They particularly like to use it in a way of putting down women. And calling them emotional. So the fact that Peskov referred to Trump's reaction as emotional was really designed to get under his skin, and understandably so.
No question. I also chuckled a little bit. Definitely often directed at women. Trump is clearly overestimating his relationship with Putin. That's an evergreen statement, perhaps for a decade or more. I mean, Russia seems empowered in Ukraine. How do you think the Kremlin and Putin read his behavior and sort of what happens from here? Because as much as we can chuckle about Peskov's statement, this is all, of course, incredibly serious, and they seem quite empowered without the backing of the U.S. for the Ukrainians.
It's deadly serious, Jen. I mean, we've just witnessed over the last several days the most intensive Russian attack on Ukrainian cities and civilians of the entire war. And Putin is doing this precisely because he knows that Trump has not been prepared to do anything to stop him. They had a phone call last week that reportedly lasted 2 hours. Trump came out of it giving a very upbeat readout. And the next thing you know, Putin is launching this intensified attack. And this is all coming about, frankly, because Trump in the first instance boasted ridiculously that he could end the war in one day, and then went on to give Putin everything he could have asked for and more in terms of Ukrainian territory, no security guarantees from the U.S. for Ukraine, no NATO membership, take the Donbass, take Crimea, get Crimea recognized as Russian territory. He handed all of that to Putin, and Putin said, nope, sorry, not enough. And so Putin he can keep on playing Trump, drawing out this war at great human cost. And the only question is there a certain point at which Trump really have enough and puts meaningful additional sanctions on Russia and provides Ukraine with the equipment and thing that it so desperately needs and deserves.
We will see, and that is certainly what a lot of people are advocating for. I know you have been a huge advocate of that, as many have. Well, I mean, if he makes a decision like that, there needs to be a process. And on Friday, they fired. We don't have the exact numbers, but many people see. They dismantled it enormously. Rubio has 4 jobs, apparently. A lot of people have said, I would say, Republicans who are defending him and others, Trump doesn't care about policy processes. It doesn't matter. And I know it matters. You especially know it matters.
I know that, of course, Donald Trump is doing everything he can to destroy our country, attack the Constitution, undermine democracy. But he is also just embarrassing. Like, we can look at the small specifics. We can look at the real impact. But like, every day is just embarrassing. That does mean something. Sure, being embarrassed on the world stage, being embarrassed of our president is not the worst thing. But boy, is it just so present. It is so present. We live with it every single day. Now, I talked about Mark Carney yesterday and his response to Trump's Golden Dome, and he spoke like a leader. And it's so weird to hear a head of state sometimes sound competent because you're like, oh, how do we not have one of these right now? But we don't. And so we got to keep calling them out and demonstrating that there is still some hope left in America. We can only pray. And we're going to be doing that on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.